Moderator. I'm Arnaud, I'm the editor-in-chief of Les Echos, which is one of the co-founders of VivaTech, and I've got the privilege to be the moderator of the next panel. It's about healthcare innovation, such an important topic when it comes to Africa. So be welcoming our panelists. The first one is Temie Giwa-Tubosun, who is the founder and CEO of LIFEBANK Nigeria. Welcome, Temie. Also with us is Nneile Nkholise, who is the CEO of IMED. She comes from South Africa. And we also have with us John Fairest, who is the head of Africa region and the head also of the global health business of SANOFI. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Healthcare obviously is a major challenge for Africa, which we're going to be focusing maybe on the front lines on which you are fighting on a day-to-day basis. Maybe let's start with you, Temie, because you're trying to, you're going to be sharing the mic. You're trying to change life, to save life on a day-to-day basis when it comes to blood. What are you developing with your company?
Absolutely, thank you. The problem we're trying to solve at LIFEBANK is a significant problem. So we found out that 1 in 3 Africans entering a hospital would need blood and blood products. In Nigeria, where I live, over 200,000 little children die because the hospital where they go to lack oxygen. So it's a significant problem when you're talking about vaccines. Over 20% of Nigeria's children are unvaccinated. So the problem we are trying to solve is to bring innovation using high tech. We are exploring using artificial intelligence. We're looking at blockchain to sort of improve the safety and transparency around the supply chain, medical supply chain. So we're really building the future of technology and deploying this technology with low tech using things like SMS technology, USSD technology, and the combination of high tech, AI and blockchain and low tech in deploying this high technology allows us to sort of bridge gap the infrastructural challenges that Africa has. So at LIFEBANK, we're really looking forward to exploring technology that helps improve supply chain logistics for medical supplies on the continent.
And you, Nneile, what are you developing? I think it's about prosthesis. You're working on a project about those important topics in South Africa. Could you give a few information about it?
Okay, normally I always try to sum up what I do to start saying human beings are quite unique. So because of our uniqueness, there is a need for customization in creating prosthetics and bioimplants because there is a rising number of accidents and people requiring therapy treatment post-accidents that could be helped by the use of prosthetics and bioimplants, and the growing number of the aging population. And with the aging populations, we get diseases such as arthritis, and with arthritis, people want bioimplants. So we looked at how can we start using the rising technologies such as additive manufacturing to create custom-made prosthetics and bioimplants for people to help in their customized therapy.
Obviously, there is a whole lot of engineering in this project, and I found a profile of you, and with this statement, you say, I'm a mechanical engineering technologist by profession, I'm a sport activist by passion, and I'm a social entrepreneur by devotion. This needs an explanation.
That's actually how I usually introduce myself, because professionally I've graduated in the field of mechanical engineering, but I have a passion in sports and have committed my whole life to the development of sports. But I have had a call to get into entrepreneurship as a social entrepreneur. So I think right now I'm following my calling to be that I'm devoted to being a social entrepreneur.
John Fairest, with you we have one of the biggest pharma corporation in the world, very powerful in Africa, where you've been operating for 60 years. You told me so. What are your maybe not your strongholds, but the most important topics, your front lines, the topics on which you're focusing your development at the moment on the continent.
So good morning, everybody. I have a slide I'd like to actually share with you. I don't know if we can put it on the screen, because I think this explains an awful lot about life and where technology has gone. You know, we've moved a long way with our technology, but we're also now starting to witness, I would say, more of the westernized diseases in some of these emerging markets, particularly Africa. So we have major issues with diabetes, with hypertension, with mental health, which are really not today being handled as effectively as we've probably seen with many of the infectious diseases. So one of the things that, as a leading healthcare organization, we're trying to bring together an ecosystem which we are part of, technology is part of, startups today here are really part of, and our governments and partners like that are the same. So we, on the Africa Tech booth here, we actually set 3 challenges for startups to enter into, and we had a fantastic 189 applications around these 3 medical issues. And the 10 winners are here, so if you get a chance to go and see them, this is what's happening. It's education, it's partnership, and it's using technology to improve healthcare.
We're talking about innovation, obviously about technology. Which technologies are the most critical ones for you? Is it mobile technology? Is it advanced materials when it comes to prosthesis? You were talking, Temie, about artificial intelligence. Is this a mixed of all those? Which one is the most important for you at the moment? John?
So I think data is incredibly important.
Data, obviously,
so
when it comes to healthcare.
we can prove when we invest in something, we get an outcome. Remote education is huge. Being able to use technology to get to remote education, to educate patients as well as healthcare professionals. And I think managing your diseases as well is important. And the next big move for me will be around payment for healthcare using mobile devices. You don't need to have a bank account if you have a smartphone. We can still access and credit you to pay for healthcare. And
obviously such a big company, such a big corporation as yours is trying to develop networks, links, partnerships with startups, which may be solution providers when it comes to those innovations. That's important for you?
This is exactly it, because nobody will solve this on their own. You have to be part of an ecosystem, and it has to be tailored to your different markets and your different healthcare needs.
Nneile, tell me about the technologies and maybe this concept of ecosystem. How does it work for you?
With me, most of the technologies that are more important to me is advanced materials, additive manufacturing. I'm also quite happy with the rise in data, because I think that's what we use a lot more. I believe that there needs to be a whole lot of collaboration, because we are in the health space. We don't just exist as engineers. We also collaborate with medical doctors a whole lot. So we need a whole lot of data for us to strengthen the collaboration.
And Temie, for you?
Absolutely. So we think that artificial intelligence is absolutely important. I agree with John in terms of data is king, especially when you're trying to transform supply chain on the continent. But we also, an insight we have is the importance of combining high tech with low tech, because like everyone here knows, 4G is barely available on the continent, and combining these 2 forms of technology with high technology and low tech in terms of deploying the technology to the people who need it, we think it's important. We also think mobility is increasingly important. Unfortunately, in healthcare, people will still show up at the hospital when they're sick. So we really can't make everything tech-wise. So we're increasingly looking to how to deliver these essential products and how to use technology to improve the supply chain and how to use technology to improve mobility and get to the farthest hospital on the continent.
This is a highly important matter, because obviously every African country is a very complex territory. There are huge differences when it comes to infrastructures, healthcare services between the cities, highly developed, with 4G all over the place, and the rural area, the rural sectors. How do you try to cope with it in your own actions? Every one of you. Temie, how are you coping with it?
So we think that it's important to look at the insights of the innovation around the continent right now. So what we've noticed is it's important to have, when you're distributing essential supplies, you should have a hub and a spoke model. That's what has worked for us at LIFEBANK. The cities serve as hubs, and then dispatch units serve as spokes. So we have motorbikes on the highways, we have trucks on the highways, we're looking at drones to connect to the most rural hospitals, and perhaps at some point you will also look at bicycles to connect to the most rural hospitals.
Nneile, for you, how is it working?
For us, what the genius thing that we did was more of we created a business model on how, because we work a lot with public hospitals.
Speak a little bit closer to the mic, please.
I'm saying what we did was to create two business models, particularly for public hospitals, because we provide them with prosthetics. Normally, we deal with women who do not even have women and people who do not even have funds to finance the prosthetics at all. So we always try to use our model on the profits we create from our business to try and fund people in public hospitals who cannot afford prosthetics at all.
And for you, John, obviously you have the biggest picture of all in our panel when it comes to coping with the territorial, the infrastructure factor. How do you cope with it?
But innovation is a fantastic opportunity to educate much better and also to give some patient empowerment. I think patients also have to be much more disease aware. They have to understand much more what their symptoms might be before it becomes too late and intervention is needed, or, as you say, they end up in hospital. So I think technology for remote access, for using the internet to talk to patients, to educate patients, and educate healthcare professionals with the right quality of how they can prevent diseases and manage them is absolutely crucially important.
Obviously, when it comes to healthcare, the public system is highly critical. You need to have governments, you need to have local services involved, or at least really supportive. How are things going in this field, John, in the various countries where you are?
You made an interesting comment at the beginning that every single country is very different.
Of course.
Every healthcare system is a different position. So, we have areas where we are able to do mobile clinics.
What are the role models for you?
Well, rather than quote some countries, role models of examples are, we have remote clinics where we take trucks that are clinics to remote areas where we can treat a whole lot of diseases. We support these things. We're supporting educational programs, disease management programs. But the important thing is to use these new technology startups in the countries who have the inherent knowledge of their country to help us be the conduit with the government or the local payer to take things to the next step, because that's the big problem. The ecosystem needs people to come together and actually work together on finding solutions. We can't all do it on our own.
Of course, obviously. How is it working in South Africa, such a complex country when it comes to public services?
Much of our test, particularly for the products that we're doing and for our business model, is something relatively new. So we've been working on building an eco-space on how we educate. We've been working with medical doctors, educate them on medical prosthetics a lot more as a solution and part of the treatment journey that patients need to undergo as therapy. So it's part of our main task has been on education a lot more and building collaboration within government to be able to play an integral role in saying they fast track the inclusion of medical prosthetics as part of a strong treatment plan for a lot of patients.
And how are things going from this point of view in Nigeria, Temie?
Absolutely. We focus on creating public-private partnerships between government hospitals and private providers. We think that's absolutely important. We think that partnerships really work. Partnerships with big pharma companies like SANOFI, partnerships with governments who have the ability to really scale up innovation. We think that partnerships has been absolutely incredible in our growth and in reaching the poorest people on the continent.
You've been talking about partnerships with public services, with public-private partnerships. It's also important when it comes to research. Obviously, you need to have people from academic research working with startups, with the R&D staff from big corporations such as SANOFI. How is this team building working in your various fields? Temie and every one of you.
We recently were selected to the Merck Global Accelerator. Merck is a big pharma company in Darmstadt. So this sort of partnership in accelerating startups and basically doing a skills transfer, research skills transfer is absolutely important. I think that that's been the secret sauce for us.
For you, Nneile, how is it working?
With me, a lot of my partnerships have been with academia a whole lot, because beyond just creating a product, we play an integral role in research, and for us to achieve world-class research that is able to enhance our product offering, we have strong partnerships with university for us to have better research output and enhance our product quality.
And for you, John, what is your global strategy, and maybe what are the differences between the various countries where you're operating?
So I think from this research perspective, in many of the markets we're now looking at how we can teach in the universities, in the university hospitals, in the countries, how to improve the quality of research that goes on. So we can do more clinical trials, etc., etc. But then beyond that, we want to get the rich data that's available again. The data that's available in Africa to look at, what happens if when we make an intervention is huge. And many of the startup applications we're seeing are around collecting the right data. And this allows you to be more efficient when you target your resources around what you do. And it helps us also find the populations that are correct for us to do the right research in the future.
In the title of our panel it's not only talking about innovation nowadays, healthcare innovation nowadays, but also about the next 2 decades. Obviously, things are going to be moving highly on a global scale. You need to have priorities. Which one are you focusing on? Every one of you. SANOFI, which may be in every field in the business.
It depends on, honestly, country by country where the priorities are.
Yeah.
But I think, non-communicable diseases is the next big healthcare issue for the continent. This is a ticking time bomb that hopefully we can link together, we can work together in partnerships, and we can start to fix this before it really breaks. And I think that's where we have to get smarter around what we do together, how we make a difference quickly, and how we channel the resources in the right way. So we want to be part of that ecosystem as SANOFI, and this is why these events are crucially important to open up a new group of people to work with.
Obviously, Nneile, what are you going to be in 20 years from now, my dear?
John spoke a lot about non-communicable diseases, and I truly concur with him. It's a ticking time bomb, but I believe that the next future of healthcare in Africa is going to be about people becoming the CEOs of their own health. Healthcare
become the CEOs of their own health. This is a catchphrase, my dear.
I mean, it said healthcare is going to be very unique, and people are going to. It's going to be very person-specific, and I think that's how the future is going to be, with a lot of data, with a lot of AI, and with a lot of technologies collaborated together. We are going to start therapy that speaks to a person individually and tackles their problems individually.
Temie, you're working in Nigeria, but obviously it's maybe a global project for you. Yeah.
Absolutely. The problem we're trying to solve is you can find this problem in every developing country that has not been able to build infrastructure. So what we're trying to build is the infrastructure for delivering essential medical products to busy health providers in developing countries. So for LIFEBANK, we see ourselves all over the world in 20 years. We see ourselves...
Dream big. Dream big. Don't be afraid of dreaming big.
Absolutely. So we like to say, go big or go home. We are going to be, I imagine, LIFEBANK India, LIFEBANK Mexico City, LIFEBANK, in Southeast Asia, as well as, of course, at home in Africa. We want to make sure that we can reach every hospital, We want to make sure that we can reach every medical provider that needs blood, that needs vaccine, that needs oxygen to save lives.
John, one very last question about you. You've been interested in this sentence, being the CEO of its own health. It's also a matter of education, of public information. You're working on it, obviously.
No, I mean, patient empowerment is very, very important. But also social media and internet can be very dangerous. You know, Dr. Google is probably one of the most dangerous things that can have happened. So we have to make sure the quality and the information is absolutely correct. And we have a duty to be part of that system to educate as well, because it helps the healthcare professionals to manage effectively. But I love this idea of people have to be accountable as well. They have to take their own responsibility. And I think that's where, you know, using technology, we can make them much more accountable. And guess what? People also like to measure their improvement. So you can make this competitive using technology. And that will be a big plus for us moving forward with patients' health.
So let's have everyone involved in this major issue. Thank you so much, every one of you, for sharing your experience and your vision. Thank you for your attention, and we're getting back to Steve for the next panel. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.